and thanks everyone for joining this chat. So this is an informal discussion about women in piping and pipe bands amongst a few of such women. So I'm going to start off with a few intros. I think all of us know each other, at least to some extent, but kind of pretending we don't, or in the thinking of anyone who might be wanting to listen in on our chat, we'll just start with a brief hello and who we are before we start in. So I'm speaking, so I will start. My name's Jenny Hazzard. I'm a piper. I have been a piper for about 37 years now. From Toronto, Ontario originally, but I have lived in Scotland for the last 22 years nearly, and most of that time in capital city of Edinburgh. My piping life has always been pretty dominated, I would say, by solo competition, and off and on over the years pipe bands as well. And right now that's very much on. Since 2017, I've been a member of the Field Marshal Montgomery pipe band. So next up, we'll have an intro from Glenna.
Hi, I'm Glenna Mackay-Johnstone, and I'm a piper as well, just like Jenny. I am currently not doing a whole lot of competitive playing, actually no competitive playing, but doing a lot of teaching, doing a lot of judging, composing. I'm also one of the organizers for the Toronto Gaelic Society of their kind of piping competitions, and they have monthly ceilidhs, and I'm the person that organizes the piping for that. So very much enjoying that. I'm also a mom of 2 pipers. I have a daughter named Kaylee, who is 16, and I have a son who is named Colin, and he's 20, and they're both pipers as well.
Thanks, Glenna. How about an intro from Kylie?
Hi, I'm Kylie MacHattie, and I currently live on Prince Edward Island in Summerside, and I work as a piping instructor. I'm a piper. And I'm originally from Abbotsford, BC. I started off as a Highland dancer and then got into piping. As chanter was put into my stocking, so that was my big hint. I've been playing for 30 plus years. We run the 2 pipe bands at the college, my husband James and I. So we've done that, played off and on in grade 1 bands. Bands are currently grade 3 and grade 5. And I've just recently decided to get back into solo playing. So I've been taking lessons again, but yeah, so it's been kind of a neat experience doing that.
Fantastic, thank you. Margaret.
Hi, my name is Margaret Dunn, and I am originally from Cork in Ireland, but I've been living in Glasgow for 20 plus years now. I am a piping instructor. I'm a piper as well. I'm a piping instructor at the National Piping Centre in Glasgow, and I'm involved in running CLASP, which is a competition league for amateur solo pipers. And I've played in solos quite a bit, not currently, but and also in pipe bands. But the local band, grade 4 band, is where I play at the moment. It's a little bit more manageable with family.
Great, thanks, Margaret. And last but not least, an intro from Shaunna.
Well, hi, my name's Shaunna Hilder. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I started piping at age 10 on the Canadian West Coast. Currently, I'm a competitive pipe band member with Scottish Power. I'm a solo teacher. I have a lot of students that I see every week. I'm also a parent. My children, Liam, a piper, and my daughter, Andrina, a tenor drummer and Highland dancer. My husband and I ran Dalco Triumph Street Pipe Band Grade 1 for 11 years and have been in basically management of pipe bands for 18 years. I'm the pipe corps instructor for Grade 3 Grayland Crossing Pipe Band in Vancouver. Done lots of adjudicating. I'm an A-grade solos band and ensemble judge, as well as I'm also the chair of the solo grading committee for British Columbia Pipers Association.
Very good. So thanks everyone. Yeah, that hopefully gives an idea of who we all are and where we're coming from. The idea here was to try to get a bit of a cross section of people with some different experiences and backgrounds in piping and different things that we're all involved with currently. And I have to apologize to any drummers who might be listening. We didn't manage to get any drummers involved. So sorry, this is going to be very much a piping and pipe band sort of chat, but hopefully a lot of the discussion and some of our experiences are everything to do with piping, drumming, pipe bands, Highland arts in general. So I'm going to start off with a question, and I'll just fire it out there and maybe point out one of you to start, and then we'll see where the chat goes from there. So first question, and maybe I'll start aiming this at Kylie, because you kind of alluded to getting into piping. So the question is, how did you get into piping? And was there any kind of resistance or any question about you starting piping because you were a girl?
I come from a family of 5 girls, and 4 of us played. My older sister played the pipes. My dad immigrated from Scotland. My grandfather played the pipes. My great uncle played the pipes. As I said before, no, my dad wasn't a piper. It was back, when pipe chanter reeds were made of cane, and it would make his nose bleed. So he wasn't able to do it, or at least I thought he wouldn't be able to. So the saying goes that my older sister saw a piper in a parade and wanted to do it. I'm not so sure about that. But no resistance. Actually, a lot of support from my parents and that sort of thing. And yeah, I just wanted to do what my older sister did. I actually started, at 6, getting, bugging her to like show me how to do the scale and stuff like that. So yeah, no resistance. I actually had parents who were very passionate about it too, which helps. So yeah.
Yeah, it's I think that's probably not uncommon to have had an older brother or sister. Does anyone else have an older brother or sister who was playing and you kind of had a look and thought, that looks fun, I'll give that a shot?
Yeah, my brother, well, the chanter was ordered actually from Scotland from my brother, who's a year older. And I always remember my father was like really annoyed because I was taking more interest in the chanter and my brother was too busy watching Spider-Man. And I just remember this, my father couldn't understand this, but anyway, I mean, he was equally as encouraging for me to do the pipes, but I think just with my brother being older, he was kind of maybe the first one that was going to start. But we started around the same time, and just through the local band that my father was the pipe major of then and still is. And yeah, and it's quite unique. I suppose the band was probably made up of more females. The lead drummer was a female, most of the drum corps, and the pipe corps as well. Lots and lots of girls, so it was never an issue, and definitely lots of support from my father throughout the years as well.
That's pretty cool. So it was the fact that the chanter was ordered for your brother it wasn't because he was a boy and he plays and you're a girl and you don't. It was just he was a bit older and he was going to be the first one to play.
He was going to be the piper. We always joke about that. Yeah.
Is it your sister plays as well? Is that right?
My sister plays as well. She's a few years younger, so she just took it up a few years later.
Yeah. And Glenna, obviously, I know that you come from a piping family, and there was a history there. Was it a kind of inevitable thing that you were going to play, or was there any question about you picking it up?
I had a similar experience to Kylie. I was into Highland dancing and also doing Scottish country dancing at the time. And my dad told my sister and I was 7, she was 9, that you will play bagpipes. And of course, we were really not interested in learning how to play bagpipes. I mean, he sent us, he didn't teach us himself. We took lessons from Darby McCarroll. Susan McCarroll's a prominent Highland dancing teacher and judge. That was Susan's dad, Darby. And Darby taught Sheila and I. And my dad taught a couple of Darby's children as well. And after a year, my dad realized, like, these girls are really, really not interested in doing this. So fast forward probably maybe about 6 years, my sister started playing. And anybody that knows me and knows my personality, I'm a very highly competitive person.
No.
Yeah. So it was, she's playing it. So, I think I'm going to do this too. And she had about 6 months ahead of me playing. And within a couple of months, I had bypassed her. And she was just like, no, I'm out, So it's too bad that she didn't continue with it, but I
You're still
did.
and being able to say that, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I started with Highland dancing as well, and
Wow, okay, that's good.
my sister and I both were put in Highland dancing when we were really young girls. And I remember one time when I was about 9 or 10, I said to my mom, "Yeah, the competition." I said, "I really want to play that," and she says, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I really want to try that." So she found me a teacher, a lovely lady, Aileen Arnott, who was at that time was the pipe major of the Vancouver Ladies Pipe Band in Vancouver, and said to her, "Oh, just give this a couple of weeks. I'm sure this will be, over with pretty quick." And it just really stuck. I love piping, and I ended up doing both Highland dancing and piping for a few years, and then it got just too busy, and I went full on into my piping at about 13. Yeah. So
Yeah,
funny.
wow. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So that's 4 out of us started as dancers, and then kind of realized, yeah, piping looks a bit more. I don't want to insult dancers by saying piping's more fun, but yeah, for us, we decided that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be more fun, but that's, and so sorry, I'm verging off piece from the kind of questions that I suggested that I might be throwing out here, but I think it's a kind of interesting thing because pretty much all of you guys are doing quite a bit of teaching. Do you feel, I mean, that's interesting that none of us have had an experience of feeling like there was any kind of question or resistance or weirdness, like, why would you take up piping as a girl, or any kind of any pushback there? Do you feel in your teaching currently, do you see any evidence of that? Do you see any like parents bringing their sons forward to take piping lessons a lot more so than they would do their daughters, or girls that are saying they want to play and maybe not being encouraged? This is not meant to be leading. It might be that that's not the case at all, but just curious in what you're seeing.
I think out here in Vancouver, we see about a 4-to-1 ratio for boys starting versus girls starting. I think that's the way, like, it's kind of always been that way. I don't think there's much change that's really happened. I think the biggest thing that's happened in the last, say, 20 years is that there's so many more activities that a youngster can be involved in, and sometimes kids are very overscheduled and doing piping and doing hockey and doing math and doing, tennis or whatever, and perhaps they're just not allowing it, the piping to become the main thing. Like for me, piping was my main thing. I worked hard at it all the time, and I didn't do, a lot of other things. And I think that, there's still that probably the same amount of women starting, and maybe the same amount of women continuing on. And I'm not really seeing, like, I think the other question too is how to keep those kids going in their piping beyond when they're getting driven by mom and dad, how to keep them going forward, beyond that point.
Yeah. I'm curious in sort of different parts of the world and even different parts of Canada. So in PEI, Kylie, is that what's your kind of experience of? Would you say it's similar, that there's a lot more young boys starting as in piping than there are girls?
We're actually the opposite. We've actually had more girls in the bands over the years and girls starting up as students. What we have a problem with is attrition, like keeping them, like Shaunna was saying about, not losing them to other things. We're very lucky at the college because we have a scholarship that we have some benefactors from the United States, Doug and Debbie Hall, who pay for a half-hour lesson for either piping or drumming. And they can do both if they want. And what we find, and this is sort of what Shaunna was saying, at 18, they kind of like, okay, I'm off the scholarship, see you later. So our biggest thing is actually attrition, but we've been really lucky. Like James and I came into this and we're like, there are actually a lot more girls, because it's something he's very
That's
conscious
really interesting.
of me, that, you know, and I don't know why that is. It's just, we've got a lot of girls and I think we're pretty lucky that way.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And what, I guess sort of a well, I don't know if you would say it's completely different, but different country, different part of the world, Margaret. And I don't know how many kind of people you're teaching at the Piping Centre who are starting out brand new from scratch, and what the kind of balance in girls versus boys is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's mixed. I mean, I think looking at the tuition diary across all instructors, I probably have the most females that, you know, that of the teachers from the Piping Centre. Whether that's a coincidence or not, I don't know. I don't know if they choose to come to me because I'm female or not. You would have to ask them, but hopefully there's more to it than that. But I had a look a few weeks ago for another reason, and I teach 4 times more females than the other instructors.
Wow.
Male instructors.
Wow. That's yeah. Glenna, any kind of thoughts on have you kind of observed or seen any concerns, or you know, any trends in girls versus boys picking up the pipes?
I think in Ontario here, it's still pretty dominant male. And one of the things that I know my own family has found, the general public or people will come up and they'll say to Colin, you know, or they'll say, oh, you play pipes, and they'll say to Kaylee, oh, do you play pipes? Right?
Yeah.
She's a girl. And in fact, it was a running joke in our family for years and years, how many people would come up, and I had her a shirt made that said, I play pipes, so that she could wear it, right? Yeah, so I think generally speaking, yes, it's definitely more male dominated, and having conversations even with the kids about it. And one of the things my son brought up is, you know, he says, really from a kid's perspective, if you're not seeing a lot of your, you know, sex doing it, he says, what's the motivation to get into doing it if you're not seeing a lot of females doing it? You know, he's in computer science at university, and he said there's maybe 2 female computer science students in his class, and he says it's just really, really male dominated. And he says, I think the reason that it is that way is because they see guys doing it, and the same thing with piping. Boys see boys doing it. They don't see as many girls doing it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it's something that often comes up in conversations like this, is role models, isn't it? And yeah, it's pretty interesting that, Margaret, as you say, that I'm sure there are plenty of reasons why people would want to go and take lessons from you, but it's interesting that you have a greater proportion of girls and women coming to take lessons, that maybe they will see you as a role model, and they'll think, oh, that's I'd like to play like her, and that you know, maybe be able to relate in a way that's not so easy. But how do we then, I'm completely going totally off the list of questions here, because it was meant to be like sort of past, present, and future, and we're sort of getting into future already, but I think that's an interesting point, and it's, you know, it's something that's come up for years and years, that there isn't a discernible increase in the proportion of women playing. And, you know, if you look at the proportion of women playing in solo piping at the very top level, it hasn't increased at all in a lot of years. And how do we shift that dial? You know, and I think, as you say, Glenna, if it's about role models, if it's about going to competitions and seeing the vast majority of people who are playing the pipes being male, does a young girl think that that's just something that boys do, and it's not quite as obvious a thing for girls to do. But anybody have any ideas as to what needs to be or what should be done to try to encourage more girls to start in the first place? And then probably, or potentially maybe even a bigger question is to keep it up and to stay with it.